Alan Capper, South News at the COFACE Country Risk Symposium 2011. This seminar is looking at country trends that obviously change year by year, and these days more frequently than that. My guest this afternoon is Hans Belcsak, who is the founder, I believe I would say, as well as the Chief Executive Officer and Chairman of S.J. Rundt. And your organization is an intelligence organization, particularly looking at economic and political changes in various countries around the world.
Dealing with country risk, yes.
Yes, indeed. Well, this afternoon you've given the audience here a very impressive and intuitive view of developments in the Middle East. That's the region that you've talked about. And many of these people here from the investment industry must be wondering what on earth they can possibly advise their clients to do in terms of investment for that region, this region that you know so well and you've just come back from. A region in turmoil is a complete understatement. So from what we saw beginning in Tunisia, and now we don't know what the end game will be, what is your view on the overall changes in that region in the last year?
Well, at this point, anybody with business interests in the region can really only do one thing, and that is wait. Wait and see what happens. In too many countries, the ultimate outcome is still quite unclear, and certain trends that business has to worry about, one of which is that the young people who spearheaded these revolutions, they have heightened expectations materially, not just spiritually. They have the feeling that so far the economic development of an Egypt, of a Libya, has left them behind. Yeah. But now that the revolution has succeeded and they've gotten rid of their regime, now they should instantly be entitled to all these things they haven't had for so long. Right. And so as a result, you have strikes in Egypt where the labor forces of companies are demanding 35, 45, 50% wage increases. The military government currently is inclined to press entrepreneurs to accede to these wishes. You have a witch hunt going on in which anybody who is doing well in business is suspect of having been corrupt, affiliated with the ousted government,
a collaborator,
could not possibly have done so well without being part of the ousted government, and therefore has to be dragged before the courts, and the assets have to be frozen.
Well, that will continue the whole rate of
that
turmoil.
That will continue.
Yes. And the extraordinary technological revolution that has backed this up really has fed the need or the view that entitlement should come as fast as possible.
Yes, right.
And what is your prognosis for Egypt, let us say, just at this moment when change has come? It is unclear what the government will be, but it was considered a stable country and a potentially good country for investment, particularly in infrastructure. Now, what will investment companies do? Will they just stand back, do you think, and wait for more positive signs of the future development?
I think they have to, because in Egypt in particular, the likely trend from here will be that the Muslim Brotherhood will become the leading group in parliament after the elections.
Right.
Not necessarily with an absolute majority, but certainly the biggest bloc in parliament. To the extent that it may be taken over by hardline Islamic elements. I think the West has reason to worry about it. They certainly are not business friendly. The key sources of income for Egypt have been Suez Canal revenues, the homebound remittances of Egyptians abroad, and tourism.
Right.
And tourism, of course, has suffered gravely. Right now there is not much going on in terms of tourism. And unless Egypt sort of swings back to becoming a secular and democratically managed country, I don't think tourism will recover.
No, which is an enormous blow
Right.
for them. What about the influence of Iran on the region, given the turmoil that there is? There is Iran on the side, has its own internal turmoil, but that's suppressed, it would seem. But what is there going to be continuing influence on the region from Iran?
I believe very much so. They have been very cautious. They tried to interfere only where they felt that it was fairly safe to do so. They have interfered certainly in Bahrain. They have tried to interfere in some other areas. But generally they have tried not to be too obvious about it. And this kind of approach, I think, will continue. Yes. It will change, however, once they do have a nuclear weapon.
Well, you said in your talk earlier today that you do believe that in spite of what America would like to believe and believes it's prevented this from happening, that Iran will have
Absolutely.
a nuclear weapon. You do
Absolutely.
believe that. When that happens, what will that do to their position in the world as well as in the region? Because apart from Israel, it will be the only country that has nuclear weapons.
It will enormously strengthen their position. They don't even have to use a nuclear weapon in order to gain its power. Just the fact that they have it gives them tremendous leverage. It always leaves the opportunity open that they may help with the development of a dirty bomb on the part of one of the terrorist organizations that they support, such as Hamas, or that they just generally interfere in the affairs of other countries and cannot really be punished by the international community, just as is the case with North Korea right now.
Yeah, right. So for the United Nations viewpoint on its Millennium Goals, which covers so many things, but covers health and the spread of technology, sustainable development, the rights of women, children, all of those areas. Those are areas that are going to be extremely difficult to see improved or even achieved in some places with this uncertain position.
Well, you have right now in most of these countries, certainly including Tunisia and Egypt, still a struggle going on between the enthusiastic young people who primarily want democracy and the emerging older and much more conservative Islamists who want to take these countries back to some sort of 7th century caliphate.
Right.
And I think the United Nations prime objective should be to support the former group. In other words, to support these young people who really want democracy, who want freedom.
But they need to emerge in some kind of unified party or
Right.
with leadership anyway.
Right.
That hasn't emerged, has it yet?
Not as yet, and there I think the United Nations could do a tremendous job in providing some sort of leadership.
Yes. Is there hope for the region?
I think there is. I do believe there is, but it sort of has to be taken country by country.
Yes.
Every country is very different right now. I certainly would believe that Tunisia eventually will come out okay. Egypt, I'm really not so sure about. And as I said before, Israel is in a heap of trouble right now.
Yes. It's an extraordinary thing, isn't it, when you think that this revolution was started by one man in Tunisia who was disenchanted and
put himself on
yes,
fire.
Yes, an extraordinary thing. And you'll continue to visit the region and,
absolutely,
and report.
sure.
And we would very much like to talk to you again. Hans Belcsak of S.J. Rundt, thank you very much for talking to us this afternoon. I think you've given us a real in-depth insight in a very short period of time, and certainly want to talk to you again as you continue to carry out the intelligence of these markets. So thank you very much for being
Thanks
with
for having me.
South News. Thank you. Alan Capper, South News.